Iced lattes taste better in WECK jars? The container has nothing to do with the drink, but many people pushing this trend are making it seem like a simple jar is going to revolutionize the way that your iced coffee or matcha tastes.
Are you kidding me? So freaking cute! Strawberry on the front.
I mean, I guess they're cute, but it's also a basic jar. This is a lot of excitement for a basic jar. Obsessed with these WECK jars. I'm looking at $200 to $300 worth of basic glass jars right now. It's like $40 for a pack of 6 of these jars. What are the odds that these people buying boxes and boxes of these WECK jars don't already have perfectly good jars in their cabinet, and they did not need to purchase these at all? Not the jar breaking. For a jar that is $10 basically per jar, how did it break so easily? I bought a 12-pack of mason jars in 2019 for $10, and I still have them. Like, are people okay? It seems like a new cup or water bottle trend takes over social media every few months, and that divulges into people overpaying for a simple cup or water bottle that they very likely already have plenty of at home. Cup and water bottle trends are some of the most grotesque examples of overconsumption promoted on TikTok. And right now, WECK jars are the latest cup trend taking the spotlight on coffee and matcha TikTok. So let's see what WECK jars are and why people are so obsessed with them, and why other people are absolutely sick of them.
These are actually food storage jars that are massive. They're called WECK jars, and they're all glass, which is really cool. So they come with these glass lids. They come as a 2-pack. You've got rubber gaskets, and they've got these little pins here. But they make the perfect cups and jars for iced matcha because they're so thick and heavy that it keeps the ice nice and frozen and cold. So perfect for iced drinks.
What she doesn't mention is that WECK jars are originally made in Germany. They are canning jars and also for food storage. They've also been around for a while. I don't know anything about canning, but I think from what people have been saying in the comments is that a lot of other canning jars and canning equipment is much cheaper than this. $40 for a 6-pack of these jars. So we're looking at around $10 per jar for a very basic jar. It seems like people are mainly drawn to these jars for the aesthetic, like the coffee or the matcha. You can see the marbling in it whenever you add the creamer. But how is that any different from a glass cup or mason jar from my own cabinet?
Oh my god, Jake, you're gonna love these. You have to get them. Are you kidding me? So freaking cute! Strawberry on the front. This is exactly what I wanted. I wanted a cup that was the size of my head. Look at that. Y'all gotta go get one of these.
I mean, I guess they're cute, but it's also a basic jar. This is a lot of excitement for a basic jar.
What I did, yes, I had to have that. Everyone's saying like, oh, just use your other jars. No, I had FOMO. We had to get the WECK jars. Let's make an iced coffee right this second. Ice. I would make a fancy iced coffee, but I don't feel like it, so we're doing this. Woo! A lot of coffee. Creamer, poison one. This coffee's the size of my head. Do we need this? Probably not.
This influencer and quite a few others have admitted that they have other jars that they can use for their coffee or matcha, but were pushed into this trend because they didn't want to feel left out or left behind. And I think in these contexts, it becomes apparent that a lot of people use these trends to manufacture a sense of belonging, like belonging to something, almost like an exclusive club that they've opted or bought into because they've bought this new trending product. Let's go back. Iced lattes taste better in WECK jars? The container has nothing to do with the drink, but many people pushing this trend are making it seem like a simple jar is going to revolutionize the way that your iced coffee or matcha tastes. Enter overconsumption. There are multiple TikToks I found where people are buying boxes on boxes, like multiple boxes of these WECK jars.
Now, some people might call this an addiction, which I I'm okay. They're right. Maybe it is. I'm obsessed. Okay, I'm obsessed. I can't.
Obsessed with these WECK jars. I'm looking at $200 to $300 worth of basic glass jars right now. Unboxing and showing you my new WECK jars and how I plan to use them. You bought all of these jars at one time. There are so many. And like, what are the odds that these people buying boxes and boxes of these WECK jars don't already have perfectly good jars in their cabinet and they did not need to purchase these at all? What are the odds? Because I would put money on it that they had perfectly good cups and jars at home that they did not need to purchase this. It's like $40 for a pack of 6 of these jars. I bought a 12 pack of mason jars in 2019 for $10 and I still have them. Like, are people okay? Not the jar breaking. For a jar that is $10 basically per jar, how did it break so easily? Not to mention that these jars seem super impractical for taking drinks on the go. So why are so many different people on social media promoting them as this great leak-proof drink option that you can use to take your drinks on the go? It did not even survive this woman dropping an ice cube 2 inches.
This chubby cup will for sure not fit in my cup holder, so someone also told me
She just said it's literally not gonna fit in her cup holder.
that I was putting on the clips backwards, so let's see if this works better. Okay, I think that's one. Okay, second one. To be sure that it's secure, I'm gonna flip it. Okay, wait.
What do you mean, wait? In order to even get it to a place where it's not gonna leak everywhere, you have to put both the metal clips on. So that's like a whole 2-handed effort just to close the cup. Or the jar. Excuse me. But if you want to take a sip of your drink while you're out, like, I don't know about you, but if I'm taking a drink out somewhere, I usually just want to be able to get like quick sips of it without it spilling everywhere. And I would feel really inconvenienced by having to like do this whole 2-handed effort to put the metal clips on, then take the metal clips back off. Not only do you have these 2 loose metal clips, but then you have to take off the entire lid. Like, the whole concept of being able to take quick sips of your drink while you're out and about kind of goes out the window. Unless you're totally open to just carrying around this open jar with you. I can't just put the lid in my purse because it has matcha all over it. And it also just seems so easy to drop or lose one of these metal clips, so you can pretty much just never close the jar ever again. I mean, you literally cannot use the jar if you lose the metal clips. I was immediately thinking like these seem really easy to lose, and then I was surprised I came across this video. Oh look, somebody has a ton of these WECK jars and they lost all the clips. $40 for a pack of jars that no longer serve their purpose. Also, if you're drinking something cold, which is what like most to all the people who are using these WECK jars as a cup are doing, iced coffees, iced matcha lattes, iced water. Once you have your drink in it for more than 5 minutes, it starts sweating all over the place. The condensation starts building up on the outside of the glass. I don't want the condensation dripping all over me, all over my car. It seems like a sensory nightmare, if I'm being honest. Did you see how the seal popped off whenever she opened it? There's no way that this is a good product for to-go drinks. There are just too many loose pieces everywhere.
On a WECK jar reusable? That's a good question. So when you go to their website, it says that they are single use. I have been told in other countries that they are reusable and that people will use them until they start to stretch or crack.
Look at how much you have to even fiddle with the seal before you can even put the metal clips on. Like, obviously this was originally made for canning and food storage. When you're canning something or you're storing food, you're not having to like worry about like wanting to open this thing and close it on a dime and like use it for shaking it or taking it to go with you. This just seems like one of the worst options you could possibly choose. And I have to say, for a jar or a pack of jars where I would have to pay $40, this seems like a whole lot of pain points for also a whole lot lot of people trying to convince others that this is like a good to-go drink option. The whole idea that these WECK jars could be considered a remotely good option for taking any drink to go is not something I'm falling for. Travel mugs have very much been a thing for a long time. Insulated, leak-proof, and you can access your drink and take little sips of it with very little trouble. But even in a canning context, it's apparent that you'll have to replace the seal like after you used it once. And again, I don't know that much about canning, and to be honest, the whole idea of canning things myself scares me a little because of botulism. Like, if you don't do it properly, good luck. Learn the hard way, you'll die. But in this case, you would have paid $10 for a single jar. For that price, you can buy a case of mason jars to do the same thing. They're reusable if you're using them just for regular food storage, not if you're using them for canning. To some degree, you can see how exhausted people feel by the endless trend cycle, because for as many people are trying to push the WECK jar trend, just as many people are trying to de-influence other people away from it. Shut up and think about how many WECK jars you could have if you just wash those used pasta sauce containers. We've been watching a lot of TikToks about these WECK jars, and a lot of the comments under these videos look like this. I didn't even know what a WECK jar was until yesterday, and I'm so confused on why people are buying them when mason jars do just that, and you don't need a clip to keep the lids down. Exactly.
Can somebody explain to me why we are all drinking out of WECK jars and why I have this overwhelming urge to buy these $40 jars off of Amazon when I can drink out of this big ass mason jar? Like, I'm willing to jump on the WECK jar trend if I'm really missing something, but like, I need somebody to tell me what it is that I'm missing, because I don't get it right now.
Again, we are talking about basic glass jars that are $40 for a 6-pack of jars. When mason jars, you can buy a 12-pack for $10. Let's do a math problem. How badly are you overpaying for that?
So I see everybody's out here sharing their WECK jars and everything like that. And I seen another lady post yesterday and she was like, anything can be a WECK jar. Like, I'm tired of people saying they don't have enough money for a WECK jar, yada, yada, yada. I have enough money for a WECK jar, okay? I still use, this had pepperoncinis in it. I use these for everything. Hold on. This is milk. Used to be pepperoncini. That right there, that's milk. It's in a
Exactly. Like, any jar could be considered a WECK jar. There are so many people de-influencing the idea that you would ever really need to buy one of these, especially if you're just trying to use it to drink your coffee or matcha.
As an avid jar collector, I love hearing people talk about not buying WECK jars. With so much respect, I really don't think you need to. This came with jam fruit spread. This came empty. I have to fill this myself. I think if you're buying these jars, WECK jars, for making coffee, I say this with only peace and love, you don't need to. You really don't need to. Purpose of these jars is like canning, pickling, sourdough, all of which you can also do in jars that you purchase that come filled with stuff. If you're purchasing these jars for the express purpose of making a coffee, for the same price, buy a jar of jam. Additionally, if you're buying this for coffee and you want to put a lid on it and you want to take it with you somewhere, these come with these glass lids with silicone seals. Then have to seal these little hooks. These little guys, they go on like this, they go on like this. It is just not an as seen on TV infomercial.
Oh, and look how she struggled to put the clips on it. Another demonstration of how they're terrible for taking drinks to go. People are chasing the aesthetic but missing the point. Reduce, reuse, and recycle, people. I love having different fun jars. WECK jars are the gift you buy your mom who loves making jam/preserves when you don't know what to get her for Mother's Day, not something you buy yourself. I agree that these are like much better in terms of like a canning context if you're like super into that. But the whole thing of it being pushed as like you need this for your coffee and you need this for your matcha is insane. I bought 3 sets of WECK jars convinced I needed them, never used, took about 3 to 4 jars, and let's just say someone had a very good day at Goodwill. Just wasteful. The WECK jar trend definitely rings true as a trend that prioritizes aesthetic over practicality. With so many people pushing to de-influence these jars, I can tell how many people are sick and tired of the endless trend cycle on TikTok. And I personally will not be participating by buying these jars. Let me know in the comments if there's anything I mentioned in this video that stood out to you or anything I didn't mention.